Welcome back to 7th Grade Mustache. On today's episode, we'll be speaking about value extraction. We'll be talking about what drives the endless thirst for data, who is doing it, and how they are doing it. We are at an interesting point in time where technology and ideology are meshing together to create a reality that offers lawfare, electronic harassment, i.e. gang stalking, and other forms of technology that's being used as technocratic punishment for speaking out against the deep state New World Order. The extraction of value without your permission is a business model, but it is also generating wealth through theft by way of theft. Here is what they're extracting: who you are, what you desire, what you say, and what you feel. The data is collected, stored, analyzed, and repackaged, and then sold back to you in the form of apps, applications, and social media algorithms. Think of this as stock market futures. It's a commoditized future based on your characteristics. They have taken your straw man, remixed him, and used that straw man against you to lure you into thirst traps, lure you into political watch lists and blacklists, shadow ban, social, solitary confinement.
You just dived in the deep end of the pool.
Already. I told y'all ass we about to go deep on this shit.
See, I'm not on TikTok. I don't know if you are, but I thought you told me you weren't. But I don't mess with TikTok. I got people around me trying to monetize TikTok, make money, whatever. And
no, thank you. Not interested.
Yep, I dig it. But you do realize if somebody clicks off a TikTok within 3 seconds, the algorithm already says it's no value to it. So you got to grab somebody's attention within 3 seconds, and it goes in 3 second intervals. 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 3 seconds, and the algorithm says it's more valuable if you stay on it for 3 seconds than you stay on it for 6 seconds. So you have. If a person doesn't like your content within 3 seconds, the algorithm says this is worthless, and then we'll throw your video away, and nobody will see it. So you literally have to hit the punchline.
That's some
right
Chinese
away.
Shit right there. That's straight up Chinese.
Yeah.
You must please the emperor or die.
I said that right there. And when Ross was talking about value, that's some crazy shit, right? It's just in a matter of seconds. Or how about the D value? This one brother was on Facebook. That's where I saw it. So it's a panel, 2 guys and 3 women. They're talking, like, just intelligently talking. And he said, Tesla is the worst thing out there. He said, you got to watch that shit. He said, Elon Musk has too much power. And so I'm thinking he's about to say something completely. He said, no. He said, I bought a Tesla, but it's $110,000. Do you know 6 months later, he dropped the price down to $75,000. He said, how do you decide the value of something that fast where, people were coveting the Teslas and now you lower the value, you lower the price, not the value. You lower the price and you lower the value. You've costed me over $25,000 in equity. We're not talking about a used car, dude. You're talking about a guy just deciding to do some shit.
But here's the deal about the whole used car part of it. There are no repair shops for them.
Damn, there you go again. But look, again, I don't like rehashing shit, but we talked about this on a 4 podcasts ago, where this guy says a Tesla crashed in his house, and he said the tow truck was there within 20 minutes. He said, I never called the tow truck. The driver didn't call the tow truck. It's the fact that if you wreck a Tesla, a signal goes out, and he wants that car snatched up. He doesn't want nobody working on it. He doesn't want anybody seeing any of the insides or anything. Second, he also gets to control the narrative. He's like, man, I'm trying to argue with this tow truck driver saying, like, get off my property. No, that guy.
The auctions that you participate in, do you ever see any Teslas?
Yeah, I see them all the time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Are they wrecked?
Okay. The last couple I saw was, this because where I live was hail damage. I've seen some for hail damage. I've seen maybe, don't laugh, 2 wrecked. But out of the 20 I've seen, 2 were wrecked. The rest were like hail damage, stuff like that.
There's a reason why you're not seeing a high amount of wrecked ones. Yeah. Because 100%. It's not salvageable.
So off subject, but you saw that young brother that put a Corvette engine in one. And so they were asking him how and why he did it. He said, look, there are people that do work on them. They do this themselves. They've sat down and scoured the internet.
It is not a cottage industry. This is some DIY shit.
Yes, no, and these guys were smart. They broke apart
The first person to do it was a black dude that was on JRE.
Yeah, he put a Corvette engine in there. He said you got to leave it in run mode. He broke down the whole thing. But like you said, these guys are breaking down programming and everything. These cars are not as bulletproof as they pretend to be. But like I said, this is what when Russell was talking about value or devaluing something, they're doing this on a whim. They're trying to control the narrative. They want more people to buy the product, and they don't care about what value you had or what equity you had in it. That's a dastardly motherfucker. You understand? Like, Ford don't do that. GM don't do that. Now, don't get me wrong. When something first comes out, it might be hard to find parts for it, especially if you want used parts. And even sometimes you go to the dealership and they're like, hey, man, that car too new. We ain't got the parts yet. But nobody's sitting there fucking over your equity or your value on purpose. That's the ultimate control. And like I said, Roscoe was breaking. Like I said, you jumped in the deep end of the pool when you was like, "Hey," like so. You're saying what I worked hard on. Say you film a video, it takes you 2 hours to film it. You dice it up because you want to appeal to the algorithm. So now after you vetted it, you got to go into 1 minute and 26 seconds, and you have say $1,200 worth of work in there. And this algorithm says it doesn't have value because you haven't got to the part where you show them how to fix the car yet, or you haven't got to the part where you show them how to make the potato salad or whatever. So right there, they're controlling your value. And people don't understand that is very deadly. And look, go ahead, Roscoe. Like I said, you were saying some deep shit already.
The concept of fact-checking did not come about until around right before the pandemic. And Snopes was the one that like many people would go to fact check stuff, and they got real popular for fact checking, even though they had no basis for their authority on the fact checking anything.
Very
this
good,
guy who, hangs around with hookers and shit, like, man, get your bum ass out of here. So the fact checker industrial complex works on behalf of NGOs, non-governmental organizations, that are basically public relation fronts for intelligence agencies. Google was created with CIA funding at Stanford University.
Yep.
Facebook was developed as a weapon that was built on LifeLock. Algorithms are used to massage your emotional G-spot on a daily basis to trap your active mind in an invisible chaos dungeon. A statistically validated cloud of interactions can be used to locate and amplify people expressing emotions that are driven by people that are managing that emotional wave. Shadow banning is a part of the punishment toolkit used by the emotion wave managers. These weapons and strategies are components of fifth-generation warfare that exists in the strata of the fourth industrial revolution.
But they came up with this years ago. They never thought they'd be able to use it.
Fifth generation warfare. First generation warfare was primitive. That was people picking up rocks and smashing each other over the head, and this group, this clan, would go over the mountain and attack the other clan. That's first generation warfare, the most primitive. The second was what you would see in this organized combat in the way of Genghis Khan, or legions of samurai warriors on the battlefield, or Chinese warriors, Chinese dynasties fighting each other. The third generation warfare is the decentralization of the command chain. In World War II, battlefield commanders were given more control and used non-conventional attack methods. The Germans used this a lot until the Americans figured out what they were doing.
They just had an objective, and it didn't come from the headquarters.
They had an objective, but then the plans were then broken down into levels, and they knew that the battlefield tank commanders could work autonomously to achieve that objective if given enough freedom, and it worked.
Like individual cells kind of thing.
Right. The fourth generation warfare was used by the Viet Cong in the Vietnam War, i.e. guerrilla warfare and guerrilla warfare tactics. The fifth generation warfare is using the art of war on civilian populations as well as the battlefield. It involves psychological warfare, propaganda, and information warfare. So censorship and propaganda have become forthright and paramount to the elite intelligentsia. The surveillance state is another method of wealth through theft.
Very good. Yeah, that's true.
The surveillance state is what we were talking about in our previous episode, where we talked about how there's this progression where we started seeing first cameras on interstates, and then you saw cameras on traffic lights, and then you saw the cameras on doorbells, cameras, microphones everywhere, and cameras and microphones in street lamps. So you're tracked all the way, and this data is collected. Now, sometimes you drive down the road, not on the interstate, like a surface road, and you see these black rubber strips that cross the road, and it's attached to a box on the side. It's recording data. Now, these are contractors who were hired to record this information for how much traffic is traveling through there. Now you say, oh, that's for the Department of Transportation. Yes.
You
but
think
that information can be borrowed, stolen, or
sold
by people who want to gather that data. Now, we're talking about value extraction. That's valuable. That tells you how many people are moving in and out of here and how fast they're going across that rubber strip that's on the road.
I know. Please forgive me where he was. This kid, to prove his point, bought like 50 cell phones from all these different places, put them in a wagon, and drug them for like a mile, 2 or 3 miles. But what happened was he was showing you that they're using your data and you don't realize it. According to Google Maps, what did it say, Roscoe? It was a traffic jam. It literally said, he's like, there's no cars around. He's in this rural area, like not really a rural area. He's in a quiet area. So how did Google Maps know there was a traffic jam when there wasn't? It's because they're watching your phone. Your phone is always giving information. This is the point that Roscoe's telling you guys. None of this shit is
because
benign.
when you're looking at these map programs, how do you think they know all those cars are right there?
Exactly. Like I said, he was good.
Now, they can access traffic cameras for sure, but
for sure,
that's only a small sliver of the information that they're using to get that data.
That GPS that you're using to find everything, which Roscoe hates, is literally betraying you, telling where you are at all times.
Here's the thing. When you're not going somewhere, turn it off. When you're not using it to find a location, turn off. And hey, dummies out there, if you have been to a place 17 times, turn it the fuck off, because you know how to get to that place you've been to 17 times.
Look, I'll be the first to tell you, when I first got a GPS, I used it a couple times in town just to see how it worked. Like, okay. So then when I'm on the road, cool. But even then, there are areas where you'll hit an area where it's just straight black because it hasn't been updated. So either you got to have faith or you got to rely. You need a hard map.
Full stop right there. I got to interject something that's really important that's psychosomatic. Muscle memory that works cognitively. What I'm talking about is yesterday I went and I worked a job that's 45 minutes away from where I live. I've only been there a handful of times. I remembered going up the interstate, getting off on a certain exit, going under the bridge, and then going down this road, and then going for about 2 miles, making a right turn and a left turn. I was in a specific area. I've only done that twice. Really once. Only been to that area once, to be truthful, that specific area. But when I got further down the road, I recognized it because I knew somebody that lived further up the road.
Also, you paid attention.
That's what I'm talking about here. When you're in your car, when you're walking, when you're on the train, when you're traveling somewhere, look around and pay attention to where you're going. Don't just have your head down on your phone, missing everything.
These phones have got people doing that, though. Think about it. Hey, when we were kids, Roscoe, how many times did your dad, because he was a primary driver, would ask you, hey, how do we get there? My mom would do, even when you're 3, 4, 5 years old, every once in a while, my mom would ask me, hey, where do I turn at? I got lost. And she was joking. She was trying to build your confidence and also build you, that you're make sure you're paying attention, so you could walk home or catch the bus home or whatever. And my mom did that shit to me constantly. And the thing was,
my dad didn't do that past. You know what it was? Once I got a bike, my father wouldn't do that because
it wasn't necessary.
He knew that his son was learning the neighborhood and then
learning the city.
Learning the city. Keep it 100% real right now. You and I would ride bikes over the entire city. And listen, Omaha's way bigger than you think it is. So the thing is that for a kid to ride 50 blocks on a bike in the summertime,
it was nothing. That was a real thing.
Because we had arcades, because we had 7-Elevens, you know what I'm saying? We had swimming pool. We had all these things. We could stop. We had money in our pocket. We were completely autonomous.
On the same token, we didn't have cell phones.
But watch this though. Watch this though. We learn navigation skills. So tell me something. When you're traveling, just give me the percentage that when you're traveling from to get groceries, to go get a bite to eat, to go watch a movie, to go to see somebody on the north side, how often do you use navigation? Give me a percentage.
Oh man, I'm gonna say 5%.
You live in your hometown.
Yeah, 5%, because every once in a while there's something new.
Something new.
Yeah. Or look, I don't laugh. I like Caribbean food. Over in Little Italy, there was a Caribbean restaurant.
South Omaha.
Yeah, it's in South Omaha, but it's in that.
For those that don't know, like for a long time, there were a lot of Italian people who lived in South Omaha. So go ahead.
Hey, hold it. They're still there apparently, but so Little Italy had. They just moved it to downtown, but there was a Caribbean restaurant. The first time I go to it, I'm like, I know this area, but I just couldn't believe that there was a Caribbean restaurant.
Hold on, use GPS downtown?
No.
Oh, and let me also elaborate something for people. Duct Tape and I are from a grid city, and so
I was going there. Your dad taught us.
My father, a military man, he taught us navigation. He taught us basic navigation as children. And he taught us north. Hold on a second. He taught us north, south, east, and west. Now the thing is that he said this city that we live in is like Chicago. It's like New York. It's like Los Angeles. It's a grid. It's streets going straight in this direction, crossing. Then you have streets that cross it going straight in that direction. And so, like for example, in Omaha, which is like you see in other cities. You have in a grid city when you have the numbers going consecutively from like say 1st Street all the way up to 215th Street. They're always going that's east and west, and then they have the name streets travel north and south.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we learned that at an early. Now hold it. Now when you in New York, they number streets aren't consecutive because 5th Street will be next to 32nd Street in New York, but in Omaha, no, it's. 1st Street starts downtown by the river and goes all the way to 200-something Street and past Elkhorn and stuff like that.
So, but here's the thing, though. In New York City, when you look at Manhattan, so the number streets all travel east to west. And then what you have is they'll say west. So something that adds a letter into it. West 2nd, West 5th Street, or it'll be... Saks Fifth Avenue. Those are just like Omaha. Those are traveling north and south.
But that's what your dad was trying to teach us at an early age. So what it did was we couldn't get lost in our city. This whole idea of kids getting snatched up or you needing GPS. This is how they're adding value to the thing, but taking value away from you as a person, your ability to be autonomous, your ability to do things without a phone.
Also, your indigenous primal abilities are being robbed of you, because what I'm talking about is that
he just got deep.
I don't live in a grid city. The only part of Atlanta is a very tiny part of Atlanta is a grid, and that's downtown, midtown. Beyond that, beyond 17th Street, it stops like 17th, 18th Street, like at the edge of Buckhead, Midtown, right? Right.
He just said
what's crazy. What's crazy is like up to the Masonic Lodge, the Grand Masonic Lodge. Everything is a grid, and then 2 or 3 streets after the Masonic Lodge, it goes into chaos. But this is what I'm trying to tell you. I learned to adapt and read the landscape. I learned to all right, cool. I come from a grid city, but I also know how to record and pay attention to what I'm looking at, so that when I'm traveling to this place, I know I've been here before. My internal compass, this is what I'm talking about, the primal part. The magnetite in your body that allows you to navigate and find places without getting lost, like birds.
Yeah, look, hold it. When you said indigenous, I remember being a kid. The way we met, we were in a program called Campfire because we weren't old enough to be in Boy Scouts or whatever. But our parents had us doing outside shit very early on. And then as we got, even at home, our parents were like, go outside and play. It didn't matter if it was 103, 104. It didn't matter if it was freezing. It didn't matter if it was snow. Our parents would go outside and play. Then we had video games. We were allowed to play video games maybe an hour.
Dude, when you didn't have gloves, you put socks on
On
your
your hand,
fucking hands.
and you put you
In
put two pair of
freezing
socks,
weather.
plastic bag, then another pair of socks,
In
because we
freezing
were
weather.
because we were sledding. We knew like, hey, mom, I'm gonna go sledding.
No, no, no,
She
no,
didn't
no, no,
say
no, no,
she
no.
didn't say
No,
be
we weren't
safe. She said,
sledding. We were daredevils.
oh,
Because
oh,
it
that's
was
that's
steep
a whole other
fucking
conversation.
hills. No, we were the X Games before the X Games, dude.
Yeah, and you would run into people and hurt them. But that's the whole thing. Our parents trusted us to come back safe, maybe, but they damn sure trusted us to come back. Safety wasn't even a priority. Nigga, we grew up without seatbelts. If you were a little kid, I brought this up on past podcasts. If you were under the age of 6 and you had a good day at school, you were allowed to stand up in the front seat as your mom or dad drove home. That was a reward for not getting in the fight. and seatbelt, only nerds use seatbelts. A good friend of ours, I remember I was talking to his mom one time. I remember she had a Monte Carlo. You know what I'm talking about? She had like a gold Monte or whatever. And she was like, seatbelt. She said, "Nah, I'd rather be thrown clear of the car." She said, "More people survive being thrown clear." I'm like, in
That
cars, you have
sounds like
problems.
a crazy person.
Yeah, no, but that tells you. But she's perfectly fine. She knew what the hell she was talking about. She was completely correct. We've been browbeat so much with repetition and commercials and all this bullshit.
But do you know who put the seatbelts in the cars or like rode for that so hard? Insurance companies.
Oh, yeah, see, that's because they didn't either didn't want to pay a
They
claim or they
didn't
wanted
want
to
to
pay.
pay for all that shit.
Yeah. So look, we are an industry-driven community, and what happens is an industry will take over something, and then all of a sudden they hit you over the head with enough information over a long period of time, and you think that's the truth or that's the way it is. No, you become accustomed to it. That's that repetition. That's that bullshit, and not realizing that there's other ways to be. Like we're seeing that now when it comes to food and clothing. When we're seeing that these people. Our last podcast was about the slow poisoning of the world. Me and you, we grew up during a Cold War, but a hot war is a physical confrontation war. A Cold War is a bunch of spies doing underhanded shit. We grew up in the '80s where like, hey, that's not our ally, or hey, this, that, and the other. So you behave or you learn differently. But now we're realizing that a lot of the information we were taught was bullshit or wasn't even addressed. Like, okay, but you didn't talk about this part. Racism ain't even a thing, So as a black person, we were miseducated. And now we're being educated by these computers and AI, which AI is self-serving. You got to make. We grew up on Terminator. We know that this AI thing is a motherfucker. We know that this shit's going to end poorly. But then you got people who can't survive without AI, or you have people that can't, that are learning to master AI. Like, hey, I use AI to write a term paper. Look, how long before you use, again, me and you talked about this. We talked about the whole Neuralink thing on past podcasts. What happens if you get a Neuralink from Elon Buttfuck and you come up with a great idea, and then he says he has a claim to it? You sit here and I invented this. Well, who's to say the Neuralink didn't invent it? Who's to say that the Neuralink is not the reason that you are or it means you have to, if you make money off that you got to share it with Elon Musk. And so that's the issue that no one is seeing, that this future that it seems so bright is a bunch of bullshit, and everything is propped up.
It is bright. It's bright for the people in control. But here's the reason. The reason these nefarious machinations are effective is because they are created by a small group of wealthy people that are clear on the intent and the goals of these programs. But most importantly, the work is done by educated people that staff these NGOs, corporations, and public offices. Educated people are the easiest to deceive because they have been trained to follow orders and not question authority. The people that catch on to the hustle are street people and blue-collar people that have experience with con artists. The educated people are more susceptible to mass formation psychosis. That process is the basis of totalitarianism, disassociation through obsessive use of digital technology.
I remember when they did a study on this shit years ago. We were kids the first time you saw it, but I saw a more modern version, maybe 15 years ago, where they were just they took a bunch of people and they were kind of surveying them and asking them questions. They said the black people would always speak up. Like say you give a black person wrong change, or you would do a math problem with a black person, and the math would be wrong, and the black person would call them out. They said out of 10 times, the black person would call you out. Not out of 10, excuse me, 9 out of 10 times, the black person would just call you out immediately. As soon as you said, "Oh, here's $7," no, I only get 5. Even if it didn't benefit them, they spoke up immediately, and they were saying that it was. And one of the things they said, it was very hard to
hustle a black person.
Yeah, they spoke up immediately. So but also, hey, on the flip side,
I ain't about that bullshit.
I had a talk with somebody at work one time, and he's an older white dude. He dates black chicks, but it was funny. He's like, black people don't play that shit. Or he's like, well, the other thing is these conspiracy theories. He said, black people believe every conspiracy theory. I said, why do you think that is? He said, well, you've been exactly. We've been fucked over. Tuskegee experiment. We black people can name at least 7 or 8 things that happened to our people where the government or the authoritative state was wrong or mistreated us. We're talking about value, and this is what you're saying is so intelligent and so it's so fresh and so necessary to talk about. But here's the problem. There's this miscommunication amongst our people that drives us apart or makes us believe in the wrong thing. Or right now, the biggest thing we got going is this lady running for office. I can't think of her name. Kamala, the Ugandan.
Chameleon.
I was going to say the Ugandan giant because that's the first time I heard.
You saw that video that I sent you about that dude from Oakland that got locked up and said she was sitting in court laughing at him?
Right. But I haven't seen that particular video. I've seen other videos by him. She arrested a bunch of people that literally did not do it. She had people that they proved were not guilty and still didn't let them out for like a year and a half. Some crazy shit. And we've talked about this on past podcasts where she literally had people fighting the forest fires, fighting the wildfires in California. Excuse me. I said, well, forest
because
fires,
they're expendable criminals.
Yeah, because they were criminals. Their time was up. She did not release them.
Yeah, she gave them a death sentence.
So that's why it's very important. Like I said, black folks will get behind some. Right now, it's black women because they think that she is aligned with them and their beliefs. And this is what whenever I tell people this, they get offended. I said, when did she become black? Now, hold it. When I say that, like according to my mom and your dad, she's black. Okay, she is ethnically black.
She's black.
But how was she raised? Who's her allegiance to?
She was raised by a black Marxist professor and an Indian mother. East Indian mother.
Hold it. She tells everybody I identify as Asian. She tells people that. So when you hear a lot of
even
black
though
folks,
she don't look like a person from India, she look like a light-skinned black woman.
Yeah.
When you see her, does she look like a woman from India? No.
No.
I mean, there's no way of stretching it. She looked like a light-skinned black woman.
And so, this is what we're talking about: value. Black folks. There's no value in being aligned.
Bro,
with
like
her.
if you wanted a visible representation of Boule, it's her. She is Boule. Like I don't understand why people will not call this shit what it is. She's the most Boule nigga ever. Ever.
Oh my God! So how about this? When she was posed with the exact same question that Brock was posed with, are you going to pass any laws for black people? You know what she said? I would never pass a law specifically for black people or this, that, and the other. But then we all know the first thing that happened when Biden got in office this time, that Pacific Islander law, Pacific Islander hate crime law. So how do you sit here and say that I won't pass law specifically for black folks, but I will pass a law for the Asian and the Pacific Islanders and all? But we can't get an anti-lynching law. We can't get a hire a nigga law. We can't get none of that shit, right? But so it shows you, because that's where the money is. It shows you that these people come together and they fight for certain things. And if you don't give it to them, they will pull their. Hey, we saw this with Chinese people and Asians when they boycotted, was it Gucci or Prada? Immediately they said they felt that pinch. So look, we're talking about value and how it's manipulated. We're talking about data and how why is data so important? It doesn't matter how fast I'm driving or where I'm driving to. Look, look, for you to get an insurance discount, you got to stick a thing in your car that tells them everything that you're doing and every place that you're going
No.
and how fast.
No. No.
What do you mean no?
No.
I ain't doing it. I don't need that discount. Look, we learned that in grade school. They did the same shit to you in grade school when they were like, okay, for everybody who does this, you'll get that. And you're like, it ain't worth it to me. We were kids. We were like, no, I don't need that bad. I remember being a kid and
It's so funny. It's like as a 8-year-old kid, you can hear that, but like, that's some bullshit.
no.
These little black kids can pick up on bullshit faster than anybody.
What it is we had our own value system that wasn't correct. We knew how to behave in school. See, black folks live in 2 or 3 different societies. We're
multidimensional people.
Yes, yeah. So you have to act a certain way in school, raise your hand, do this, that, and the other. But at the same time, I was given a set of rules that applied everywhere. My mama said, if somebody put their hands on you, you hit them. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't nobody put their hands on you. The first time I went to a Montessori, I went to kinder care. And because I was taught that if somebody put their hands on you, you hit them, I learned that those rules just didn't apply in certain places. So what happened with me was I was at my babysitter's house, and this kid hits me, and I walk up to my mom and say, hey, the lady at school said I get candy if I don't hit nobody back. My mom said, don't you ever take candy from that white woman. And look, if you ever need candy, I give you candy. Man, I got in so many fights. It was over there on 108th and Maple.
What the fuck were you doing out there?
My cousin stayed at Tudor Heights, so I was going to kinder care out there because my cousin could pick me up. My single parent household.
Nothing out there back then.
No, definitely not no black folks. I was unfamiliar with that holiday called St. Patrick's Day, and if you didn't wear green, you got pinched. So my mama said, if somebody pinch, somebody touch you, you hit them. So I walk into school, ain't got no green. These motherfuckers start pinching me. I said, somebody else pinched me. I'm hitting them. I broke this nigga's tooth. I remember, and I was like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. And so this is the most 70s shit you'll ever see. This kid is crying with a broken tooth. So I start crying because I think I'm gonna get in trouble. She walks over. Oh no, don't worry about it. And she puts a shamrock. You're fine now. Go ahead and go play. That kid still like it was. She said it's not his permanent tooth. Don't worry about it. We were different. You were expected to fight at some point in time, and all your parents wanted you was to either win the fight or at least do well. Not quit. Yeah. Don't give up, nigga. Cause I ain't raising no pussy. I told you, my mom locked the screen door on the nigga. Like, fuck this shit. All right, you gonna go out there and fight? We were taught the levels of society. We were taught how to deal with the government. We were taught how to deal with the establishment. We were taught how to deal with the education system. And I think the one thing that we probably weren't taught, because Rodney King taught us that, was how to deal with police brutality. We probably didn't understand that part. Everything else we were taught at home. Like you said, we were multidimensional. We knew what part, how to lie, how to effectively lie in these different situations. So we could travel through these different areas. Literally how to behave here, how to behave there. If you get caught over here, make sure you're home by this time. That kind of shit. We were given rules because we were being raised to be adults. You knew how to get home from Westroads. I remember shit. I walked home from Crossroads and Westroads once. And I think I was in junior high, but fuck, I missed the bus. Fuck, I gotta get home. That shit. We existed as individuals that were part of a society, not that we're just society individuals that need the government to feed us or serve us. And that's what's happening. This government is making sure that you can't survive without it. That's that bullshit. And whenever we warn people that they try this shit in Chicago, New York, and LA, and then they try to just give it to everybody else. Oh, it worked there. It didn't even work there effectively. Here's the other thing that Roscoe loves to bring up, and this is what makes him a genius. One of the things they do when it comes to this surveillance state is they convince you that crime is rampant. Right now, these 3 kids jumped out, beat up a white woman up here, and took her purse. And they got 3 different angles. They got one ring camera, Then they got another ring camera over here zoomed in. It's almost. It looks like Channel 7 filmed it. It looks like they had a guy hiding in the bushes. We have our cameramen everywhere, and they edited it together.
That sounds fake
And
as fuck.
no, so hold it. I will send you the video. It don't look fake, but it was edited very
No,
well.
see, I don't.
But yeah, hold it.
I'm talking about the. You see, you looking at the surface. I'm like, what type of biscuit did you use to make this cake?
Hold it. I'm agreeing with you because I'm always saying the fix is in. I'm saying that this ain't Chicago. Why are these kids behaving that way? There was no money in that. What was the point? If you, I learned this a long time ago. Your dad taught us this. Your mom taught us this. My mom taught us this. Like when you get new shit, they would like break down the boxes. Take them someplace else because people ain't gonna rob you if they don't think you have anything. But if they think you got something, you don't brag about what's in this house. That was a defense mechanism. Nobody wants to. Very few people break in a house that's empty, right? Ain't nobody breaking in an abandoned building because ain't nothing in there of value. But if they know that you got 2 or 3 TVs, if they know that you got plenty of jewelry, if they know that you got shit, it's only a matter of time before somebody tries to take it. And that's what we're talking about with these situations. Like, hey, ain't nobody doing shit for free. Ain't nobody. So why are these kids doing this shit? Because they drugged that woman. And then she put up a fight. Another white woman ran out there and tried to help. I'm like, this to me, this is about guns. Because if you was packing, look, my mom lives in a rural area. You know where my mom stays at, and I tell her, even when you're outside doing yard work, you're supposed to have your pistol on you. You're on your property. There's no time for you to run to the car, run to the house, if something goes down. You need your pistol in your pocket, and that's just how it is. Because if somebody runs up on you, somebody says some crazy shit, ain't no police to get there. The sheriff is 20, 30 minutes away. This is one of those situations where, like, Roscoe's right. The reason the fix might be in because this is to get somebody else in office. This is why you vote the way you vote. This is why you do the shit you do, because you see this kind of shit. This is why you ask ring doorbells should be free. Next thing you know, there's some government contractor buying a bunch of ring cameras and putting them for free. There's not for free.
Or hacking into these ring cameras to use them when they want to use them. So here's the deal. Mass formation psychosis is the process this process is the basis of totalitarianism and disassociation through obsessive use of digital technology. So
this is the basis for the LGBT community also.
Mass formation psychosis parallels the mentality that developed amongst the German population in the 1920s and 30s. It's characterized as having a free-floating society, open borders, a sense of unreality, AI, and a charismatic, hypnotic leader. Psychological warfare was created and used offshore by intelligence communities. Retired generals that have used it have blown the whistle on how it has been used on the world and American citizens during the past 4 years. It is comprised of a series of well-defined steps. So, we hear a lot nowadays about the whole migration issue. So, there's this thing that is a plan, what is called a plan, that the Plan 2030, okay? And you've heard it before, so to prevent from being shadow banned, you know what I'm talking about. But it's considered an international treaty, and it sees migration to and living anywhere in the world that you want. That is the open borders policy that is being used and forced on all the developed countries around the world. It's the reason you're seeing migrants and illegal immigrants getting funding, busing, cell phones, and airplane tickets to almost any place in the world they want. It's also any place in the world they want large groups of people to travel and upset the native cultures and population. I'm going to read that part again.
Yes.
These migrants are being given money, plane tickets, bus rides to any parts of the world where they want to disrupt cultures and populations. It's the
Hey, don't
reason you
forget.
see tech companies giving cell phones to isolated jungle tribes in
For
South
no
America and
reason.
Africa. It's the reason Elon Musk wants the whole world to have the internet supplied by Starlink satellites. Why do you have to encapsulate the planet in the internet? That is totally unnecessary. These are disruptive strategies and disruptive technologies that are deployed together to
Look,
purposely
they've already talked
change
about
the
the ones.
world.
They've already talked about the ones in Australia looking at porn, not doing their daily their daily chores and shit.
Yes, the
Uh,
Amazon.
but no, Australia, the outback also. It's the same problem.
So
Now they're
hold on,
not
hold on,
doing
hold on. Why are we hearing about this at the same time? In
different
these two
different places.
tribes are separated by 8,000 miles. But we're hearing about the same thing happening at the same time because this
It
disruptive technology
is by
is a
design.
part of a plan to disrupt native cultures to get everybody on this. Like, we got to hurry up and get everybody on this Neuralink. I got to hurry up and get everybody under my control. So then I will have control over how you travel, Tesla, how we get into space, SpaceX, who you're talking to, what you're talking about, and everything I talked about, how they extract value. That is X or Twitter, or pick any of the platforms. Like I said to you before, they have taken your straw man,
Look, I
remixed him,
challenge you.
and sold your own straw man back to you.
I've talked
Now,
about this on
but
past
here's the thing, though.
podcasts.
This comes into how the straw man's birth certificate. When you hear about the straw man's birth certificate and how it's being traded online, yo, this is the perfect corollary to that.
Hey, hold it. You named too many different things. I got to touch on all of them. First thing, the very last thing you said about birth certificate, you can leave the hospital without a birth certificate. There's a way to. There are women out here with videos explaining how do you leave the hospital without getting a birth certificate. So that's the first thing in is disrupting the banking clan and the straw man situation. Second, I sent you a video. There's a movie from 1934 called The Rothschilds. It breaks down the whole thing that there were five brothers and five sons and five different countries in Europe and so how they fund. So you need to watch that. God damn, you touched on too many things. I'm trying to remember what
Told
else
you,
you talked.
bringing the heat today, man.
And so the whole thing with Tesla, he's not some good benevolent motherfucker. Uh, okay, so you cannot resell electricity. You understand that, right? So these Tesla charging stations, a lot of them have diesel generators, or he's letting you do it for free. But
But
that's only
in
temporary.
the X Spaces conversation that he had with
Yes, I'm
Donald
going.
Trump, he admitted that gasoline powered vehicles and diesel are still needed.
More efficient also, but that's another conversation. Look but here's the issue is that he controls all that. So if back to what Roscoe's breaking down to you, so if you have X and you have a poor social media score, you won't be allowed to charge. They're already doing that in China. You cannot charge unless you have a high enough social media score. And God damn, it's so many things I got. God damn, I forgot something else I was gonna tell you about this goddamn piece of shit. Look, it's just so many things that you touched on in 5 minutes. I'm trying to remember. I gotta remember this one. Look, what we're saying is that they're making you dependent on some bullshit that you really don't need to be an effective human being. And they're also convincing you that this motherfucker creates markets and does this, and he has Dogecoin and all this other stuff. Man, watch this motherfucker. He ain't shit, and embarrass and make fun of him. See how he crumbles. You know that we're dealing when he bought Twitter, which is X now. He fired half the people. He goes in and does fucked up shit, and people act like, oh, he's a good billionaire. He's not. Um, Also, I challenge everybody to go watch these old videos of him talking about X way a long time ago, like in like the late '90s, early 2000s. X was his idea for a bank. It's odd to me that he would buy Twitter and name it X, which is a failed idea that he had in the past. People got to remember how he got rich. He got rich off. We've already talked about this past podcast. He was part of the PayPal mafia. So he's one of these guys that put money in
But
PayPal
here
very
is the
early.
deal. Again, educated people are the biggest suckers. Street people
Yes,
can always catch on to a hustle. And I'm going to say this again. They have taken your straw
because
man
because
and sold it back to you remix. Now, on X, to get a blue check mark, you have to pay for it now.
$5,
Watch
$5.
this. Then they want you to pay for something that extracts your value of who you are, what you desire, what you say, what you feel. But I'm gonna make you pay me so that to I'm
Talk
you're
about
no
it.
no 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 no. You're gonna pay me to take this from you. You're gonna pay me to steal from you. My man, that is the biggest fucking hustle in the world.
I'm robbing you. I'm stealing from you, but you're going to pay me $5 to have permission for me to take from you. How fucking backwards is that? See, hold it. This is one of the things I wanted to say earlier because you pointed this out. People who don't know history. See, these really intelligent people tend not to. They don't fuck with history. They fuck with all this other shit, this conjecture and theory and all this other shit, but they don't talk because this shit hasn't repeated itself. And the thing is, if you are a student of history or you're a black person who's been poor and been robbed, you can spot the shit a mile away. You're like, oh man. As your dad would say, I know this Mickey Mouse bullshit. You would recognize, okay, this is 3 Card Monte. Hold on, this is okay. This money ain't got no real value, but we're gonna say it's worth this. You understand the hustle. You recognize it. And the thing is, as black folks, we've always existed in the idea that this shit can crumble, we still can survive. How many black folks, this is why do you think we fight so hard? This is our native land. Look, this whole idea that America belongs to, no, this is ours. That's why we fight so hard for this shit. That's why we know that y'all full of shit. We understand this. And so with that being the case, that's our saving grace, is that we expect this to fail. We expect this to tumble, and we expect to still be here. And that's how we've always survived. We know that, hey, we belong, and so it's really hard for people to get shit over on us. Now the problem is we will champion some bullshit. Our brand loyalty is probably one of our faults. You got niggas wearing Nikes and Jordans, and you're like, hey, I rock with this. Well, that's what's happening with this politician bullshit. Every 4 or 5 years that we rock with, you got to rock with who rocks with you, and not the superficial shit either. Not that, yes, I have a black face, so I must be the better choice. Nah, man, the better choice is what benefits you. And who's not lying to you all the damn time? Fuck.
Well, advocacy journalism is soft-pedaled propaganda without the risk of lawsuits. The Washington Post and CNN, as well as Fox, actively train their journalists in these types of tactics. So now clicks, likes, and even trolling are converted into revenue. Not long ago, before certain bills were passed, the news reported facts, or what was considered factual. And then you would see these shows in the mid-'80s to late 80s after this law was passed, and there was all of this commentary. Well, I think this, and I think that. And everybody giving fucking opinions instead of just reporting facts. The lines became blurred, and the news became this type
Conjecture.
of entertainment.
Yes.
So now you have these things that are entertainment and news. These lines are they're blurred because there's propaganda in these things. And so going back to what I said about censorship and propaganda and how they are more important than ever. How censorship is being used on all these social media platforms. Think about how after Trump was shot, how hard it was to go on to Google or many of these search engines and find any information about the shooter. And
Oh my God.
as a matter of fact, typing in the search
Shooter's name.
words Trump's assassination attempt yielded nothing. It was because Google personally shadow banned those results. They were caught doing this several times before, and they were caught doing it again. They keep doing it. They keep doing it.
Look, that's what Roscoe told everybody early on. Start using DuckDuckGo. You use other search engines because
Brave and
Google,
stuff like that.
yeah, because this shit is so. I don't want to say watered down ain't the right word. This shit is so veered towards certain things. Look, let me give an example and clear this up. Trump came up with this idea. He said we should not be taxing tips. If y'all don't know this, I used to be a bouncer and they tax my tips. If I'm at the end of the night, I'm supposed to put my tips in. Trump says, hey, we shouldn't be taxing tips. Now, Kamala Harris says the same thing, completely different media coverage. So when Trump said we shouldn't be taxing tips, do you know so the news media comes out because they don't like Trump right now. Oh, do you know how much that would cost the government? It would cost the government $13 billion in revenue if we don't tax tips. But then Kamala Harris says it. Hey, we shouldn't be taxing tips. Like I said, Trump said it first. The coverage is completely different. Is that, oh, she's for the working class. This will help so many single moms and so many parents. It's a completely different narrative. So the reason Google is not helping you find any information on this guy is because they wanted Trump dead, or they wanted him injured, or they wanted him out the race. So the person. When you rely on media, you shouldn't be able to pick the narrative, or it shouldn't veer you in a certain direction. It should just tell you what the facts are, and you decide how you feel about it. We've talked about this in past situations. Hell, everybody knows that Vietnam War is the worst war we ever had, and we was kicking ass in Vietnam. It's just shit got dragged out, and so everything you saw on TV, even I was brainwashed to think that we lost that. Look. That we was kicking ass over there.
All right, check it out. So I want to talk about something real quick before we wrap this up. Surveillance pricing. The Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, is investigating 8 companies, including MasterCard, Revionics, JP Morgan Chase, Accenture, and McKinsey & Company, about how they're using AI to change pricing based on customer behavior and characteristic data.
Oh, shit. Yeah,
a practice known as surveillance pricing. The FTC wants information on how these companies collect customer data, who their customers are, and how their customers use their products and services, and how their pricing strategies are affecting consumer pricing. They believe Americans deserve to know whether businesses are using consumer data to deploy surveillance pricing and are exposing practices that could reshape how consumers purchase goods and services. MasterCard has agreed to cooperate with the FTC, and Revionics has denied that it uses AI to target prices at individuals and does not conduct operations related to surveillance of consumers. Although several companies are experimenting with pricing models that change prices based on different variables, i.e. JetBlue applies peak and off-peak pricing to checked in bags, and Amazon has an algorithm that gauges how much it can raise prices before its competitors raise theirs. Surveillance pricing is a shadowy ecosystem of pricing middlemen because it uses personal consumer information to determine how much people are willing to pay for a product. This is futures. This is
data. This is what you were just talking about.
This is what I'm talking about with futures.
Yeah.
With stock trading and futures. This is some low down shit that is happening.
So you mean to tell me if they think that I need something more and they think they will raise the price just high enough not to affect their competition, but to affect me, and they'll make more money just based on
They will raise and lower the prices based on your behavior.
Diabolical.
Dude, that is hunting and fishing 101.
No, it's gouging also. How many times have you heard about a natural disaster?
These motherfuckers better have a fucking fishing license, dude. They better have a hunting license.
Cream corn is $5 now. Because who the fuck want that shit? We're trying to tell you that they're fucking you in your face, and you're not running.
Your reputational value is extracted and repackaged by third parties by smart devices in your home. That is also something to see, because if you have Alexa, that information is being reported back to Amazon. And based on what you're looking up, hey Alexa, look at this. Hey, Alexa, get this song. Okay, let's fuck with the pricing on these things this person is interested in.
And Roscoe, don't miss the most obvious. If you're sitting here watching television, they don't need Nielsen anymore to know what's watching. You got Alexa, or worse, you're watching it on a streaming device. So they know how to cater and send you commercials that you're into.
I'm going to use a supernatural analogy for this. These people are behaving like the shadow people that people see when they wake up in the middle of the night.
I thought you were going to say divining rods or some shit looking for water.
No,
but I got you.
These motherfuckers are acting like shadow people that you see in your bedroom or in your house at the corner of your eye in the middle of the night.
Yeah, these are the watchers. This is some crazy shit. They're literally...
But it's also, this conversation is... You can use it parallel to the Marvel Universe, the DC Universe. How, with comic books, the stories are straightforward and simple in the beginning. And they became more complex. And they began to include social commentary. And now you can't read a comic book without having some type of social commentary in it. And then the levels of warfare in these comics became more and more complex. And psychological.
It wasn't just fighting.
And psychological. Yeah, so now you're seeing these parallels to DC Marvel Universe, to warfare,
and everything,
information, and psychological warfare in our reality.
Hey, Ross,
but here's another thing. Hold that thought. Here's another thing. A person born into this world now, to remain spiritually autonomous, psychologically autonomous, to practice spiritual hygiene, you are practicing MMA with the mentality that, like, I can't use one style of attack. I have to have many different styles of attack and the intercepting fist and knowing how to deal with these attackers.
I got you beat. So I think I told you I was watching. Oh my God, it's Matt Hoffa show. I can't think of his name of his podcast.
The dude's in the barbershop, right?
Yeah, in the barbershop they're talking. But one of the deep, so they had a deep one this time, and they were talking about a bunch of different shit, of course. But one of the things when the homie said, "Hey," I was talking to a psychology friend of mine, and he said, "Do you know what hurt kids the most? Do you know what thing, how me and you were raised, what we had that these kids nowadays don't have?" And what do you think that is, Roscoe? Because you know the answer.
What is it?
Saturday morning cartoons. Who
brought that up on the show?
The dude with dreads and glasses. Mm-hmm. And he said we had a clear-cut moral compass, and these kids nowadays don't have it. And the only reason they don't have
that's powerful.
I got you.
Send that to me.
I got you. And so they start talking about G.I. Joe and Duke. And hey,
did they?
Said Duke was, yeah, they said Duke was the only one that ever got killed. Like, no, Duke got shot. He never got killed. But what they're saying is that we had Saturday morning cartoons, and you knew right from wrong, or you had 30 minutes to teach you right from wrong. Then you saw another one, so you got beat over the head with right and wrong.
But it was all of them. It was Thundercats, G.I. Joe, He-Man, Transformers. They always had morality tales.
The bottom, but you had you knew yes and no, and right and wrong, and you saw that at the end, and you knew that these were the bad guys, these are the good guys. So you mean to tell me, because they don't have Saturday morning cartoons anymore? They literally don't, and they did away with that because of this reason. We are where we are right now because of the removal of that out the home. And trust me and you could tell stories. We could talk about episodes of G.I. Joe, He-Man, Transformers. We knew who the Decepticons were the bad guys.
Because this was our mythology. And in ancient mythology, these were morality tales.
Now they fucked you over in Transformers when they threw the Quintessons in there, because the Quintessons ain't nothing but the Rothschilds and the Bacon clan. Because they had an episode where the Quintessons kept a war going because they were selling to both sides. Oh my God, that's reality. So me and you had a healthy dose of morality every freaking week, and we also had. And then when me and you turned 6 or 7 or 8, that's when we got He-Man first. But we already had Transformers on the Bozo show, and that's when we started getting
Transformers came after He-Man.
That's why I said it came after He-Man, but it was on the Bozo show. We didn't have whole episodes of Transformers. We got that later. I'm just saying. Remember that they gave us a little 8-minute snippet on the
little
bozo.
tease, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
motherfuckers.
I'm like, what is this? Um, I couldn't even get dressed in the morning, so my attention span, because my ADHD was
Your mom will come in there, get dressed for work, for school.
what the hell wrong with you, motherfucker? But I will send you that. But they said the one thing that has morally corrupted these children is that they don't have a clear cut moral compass, and that came from the Saturday morning cartoons that we grew up on. And so, like I said, I had to add that because this is about that value thing. This is what Ross was telling you when people manipulate the value of something, or they see that you're doing too well. You know, most of us grew up on that, so we had these heroes, and we aspired to be like them. Look, this is a true story. When I was a kid, and people asked me what I wanted to be, I wanted to grow up to be Spider-Man, either a fireman or a Spider-Man. That was a job to me, nigga. What the fuck you laughing at, cuz? Shit. Nigga, you was Mr. T, and couldn't nobody tell you
That was my job. That was my job, dude.
Yeah, that was your job. Nigga, I'm not talking about the actor. I'm talking about I Pity the Fool. And remember he had the cartoon, and they were gymnasts, and he had the dog with the mohawk. Nigga, that was you. Nigga, you mean to tell me you're trying to cut a mohawk on your dog? Look.
And the cereal wasn't that bad, actually.
No, the tease wasn't bad. So, you got to understand that when they spotted you getting too much value out of something, and they spotted you
shut it down.
You not being able to be controlled, and they had these inspiring ass kids becoming special adults. They fixed that shit right away, nigga. Because how many rappers got comic book names? We got Tony Starks, we got Johnny Blaze. We got niggas was from Wakanda way back then. So what y'all don't understand is that that mythos affected all our people. You know what I'm saying? So that's why these niggas are so inspired, and they pushed through, and they came out these negative situations with drug use and everything. They knew, and we knew selling drugs was bad, but shit, it was the industry. It was an industry. Look, I saw this video where they were interviewing this dude from the East Coast, and how it's the white guy who got busted for selling drugs, but now he has a podcast. It's been on for a couple of years, and he was interviewing a guy from New York that they made a shitload of money on heroin in the DC area. All that shit you saw in DC when niggas waiting in line was a real deal. And so he's talking about a particular summer where he had went to D.C. and made a shitload of money. He said, my uncle had 2 warehouses full of heroin, but people in New York weren't using heroin anymore. So I'd take some cocaine down to D.C., and he was like, look, they're literally 10 years behind us. I didn't realize that. I'm trying to sell cocaine where they're still geeking off heroin. Well, but the interviewer goes, so how much did you make? He said, we were doing $50,000 a day. He said, I probably made about $3 million. Oh, he was like, yeah, so you did this, that. He's like, you don't get it. I always had money. And, making $2 or $3 million wasn't nothing to me. That wasn't my goal. I had no goal. He said, I was just selling drugs because that's what my family did. I fell into the business. I really didn't want to be in the business. And he's explaining to you that he was very deep when he said this. He said that came from rapping. That's these rappers having money and convincing everybody that was the goal. That we didn't have that goal. He said that came later on. Rappers got that from us, and then it was fed back to us, and that's why you have all these people talking about I made $2 million. He said, no, we didn't care. He said we just found a market, and we took advantage of the market. My uncle had heroin. I found a heroin market. I'm selling it.
Okay.
He said
So, value extraction. They have taken your straw man, remixed it, and sold it back to you. That fucking blue check mark is the perfect example of that. Stop falling for a banana in the tailpipe because the piccolo player is a motherfucker. Look, that's all I got. We out. Peace.
Holla back.